The child at the door. The night was cold, even for the edge of the galaxy. Snow fell slowly onto the quiet street of the old colony, covering broken lights and empty paths. Most shops had closed hours ago. People here slept early. Power was expensive. Warmth was rare. Inside a small toy shop, an old human man finished his work. His name was Elias, and he was a toy maker. His hands were rough, cracked from years of carving wood and metal scraps. He made simple toys, small animals, spinning tops, and tiny flying ships that barely worked. Children still loved them. Elias blew out one candle and pulled his coat tight around his thin body. The heater in his shop had broken months ago. He could not afford to fix it. He had learned to live with the cold. As he reached for the door, something made him stop. A sound. Very soft. Almost nothing. It was not the wind. Elias turned slowly and opened the door. At first, he saw only snow. Then he saw her. A small figure sat on the ground just outside his shop. She was no taller than a human child. Her body shook badly. Thin wings folded tightly around her like broken arms. Her scales were dull and dark, cracked with cold. One side of her face had a long burn mark. She was a dragon child. Elias froze. Everyone knew the stories. Dragons were dangerous. Dragons burned cities. Dragon blood started wars. Even the smallest dragon was feared across the galaxy. But this one did not look dangerous. She looked like she was dying. In her hands, she held a broken toy. One of his toys. A small wooden bird with one wing snapped off. The child lifted her head with great effort. Her eyes were large and glowing faintly blue. She opened her mouth. No fire came out. No roar. Only one weak word. Warm. Elias felt his heart beat hard in his chest. He knew what he should do. Close the door. Pretend he saw nothing. Call the colony guards in the morning. That was the safe choice. That was the smart choice. Instead, he stepped forward. The cold hit him like a knife, but he did not stop. He knelt slowly in front of her. You're freezing, he said softly. The dragon child did not answer. Her eyes closed. Her body leaned forward and almost fell. Without thinking, Elias caught her. She was lighter than he expected. Too light. He could feel how cold she was through his gloves. Not just cold, empty, like all the heat had already left her. Elias looked around the empty street. No one was watching. No guards. No lights. He made a decision that would change his life. He picked her up and carried her inside. The door closed behind them. The shop was dark and quiet. Shelves of toys watched in silence. Elias placed the dragon child near the small fire pit in the center of the room. There was no fire burning, only ash. He tried to start it, but the fuel was almost gone. The flame that appeared was small and weak. It was not enough. The child shook harder. Her teeth clicked softly. A faint light came from her chest, flickering like it might go out at any moment. Elias swallowed. He looked at his shop, at his empty shelves, at his thin blanket folded in the corner. That blanket was all he had to keep warm at night. He picked it up. Slowly, carefully, he wrapped it around the dragon child. She made a small sound, not pain but relief. Still, it was not enough. Elias sat down beside her. The floor was ice cold. His bones ached. After a moment, he did something he never thought he would do. He pulled her closer and wrapped his arms around her. Human warmth. His warmth. The dragon child's breathing slowed. The light in her chest grew a little stronger. Her claws relaxed. Elias stayed still. He did not sleep. Outside, snow continued to fall. Minutes passed, then hours. At some point, the dragon child opened her eyes and looked at him. She did not speak, but she reached out and held his sleeve with one small claw. Elias felt something strange then. A deep, heavy feeling, like the world had quietly turned in new direction. He did not know this yet, but in dragon law, giving warmth to a dying child was not kindness. It was a bond. Far above the colony, unseen sensors activated. Ancient systems awakened. A signal moved through space, fast and silent. A dragon child had been saved, and the galaxy would soon notice. The price of warmth. Elias did not sleep that night. He sat on the cold floor with his back against a shelf of wooden toys, holding the dragon child close. The small fire gave very little heat, but his body did the rest. Every breath he took felt heavy, like the air itself was watching him. The dragon child slept, but not peacefully. Her wings twitched. Her claws tightened and loosened. Sometimes a faint blue light moved under her scales, like something alive was searching for a way out. Elias had never seen anything like it. Just before dawn, she woke. Her eyes opened slowly. They were brighter now, clearer. She looked around the shop, confused, then looked up at Elias. For a moment, fear flashed across her face. Elias raised his hand slowly. "It's okay," he said in a low voice. "You're safe here." The child stared at him. Then she looked down at the blanket around her body and at his arms still wrapped around her. "You warm," she said softly. Elias nodded. "Yes, warm." She studied his face carefully, like she was trying to remember something important. Then she nodded once, very seriously. "My name, Syrah," she said. Elias felt a strange tightness in his chest. "I'm Elias." Syrah tried to sit up, but winced. One of her wings dragged on the floor. The edge was torn, the scales burned black. Elias moved without thinking. He stood, found a clean cloth, and gently cleaned the wound. Syrah watched him closely, but did not pull away. "No fire," she said suddenly. "I won't," Elias replied. She relaxed. When the sun rose, the colony began to wake. Lights flickered on outside. Distant engines hummed. Life returned. Danger returned with it. A sharp sound cut through the quiet. A scan pulse. Elias froze. Every shop on the street had an old security scanner. They were meant to detect illegal tech, weapons, and dangerous life forms. The dragon child's eyes widened. The light under her scales flared bright blue. "No," she whispered. "They find me." Elias felt fear crawl up his spine, but he did not move away. He looked around the shop, his mind racing. The scanner pulse came again, stronger. A red light flashed near the door. Elias grabbed Syrah and moved fast. He opened a large wooden chest in the corner. It was filled with unfinished toys and soft cloth. "Hide," he whispered. Syrah hesitated. "You danger." Elias gave a small smile. "So are you. Go." She slipped inside the chest just as heavy footsteps stopped outside the shop. A loud knock hit the door. "Open," a voice ordered. Elias took a deep breath and opened it. 2 colony guards stood there, armored and cold-eyed. A drone floated between them, its lens glowing red. "Skin detected unusual energy," one guard said. "Dragon class." Elias shrugged. "This is a toy shop. Only wood and dust." The drone floated inside, scanning the room. Elias felt his heart pound so loudly he was sure they could hear it. The chest remained silent. The drone moved closer. Closer. Inside the chest, Syrah pressed her claws into her own arms. Fire burned in her chest, begging to escape. She remembered screams. Smoke. Death. She remembered warmth. She closed her eyes and pulled the fire back. The drone beeped once, then powered down. "No target," it said. The guards looked annoyed, but stepped back. "Lucky," one muttered. They left. The door closed. Elias collapsed against the wall, breathing hard. The chest opened slowly. Syrah crawled out, shaking. "You could burn them," Elias said quietly. Syrah shook her head. "If I burn, they come. Many." Elias understood. He had heard the stories. Dragon signals spread fast. Entire fleets answered them. He knelt in front of her. "You can stay. For now." Syrah looked at him with wide eyes. "Why?" Elias thought about that. "I make toys," he said simply, "for children who lose things." Syrah reached into her small bag and pulled out a metal pendant. It was cracked, but glowing faintly. "Royal mark," she said. "They hunt me forever." Elias did not know what royal meant to dragons, but he knew what hunted meant. Outside, far beyond the colony, something ancient stirred. A deep signal moved through space, older than human history. Dragon systems activated. Eyes opened. A life debt had been formed, and someone had broken it once before. Syrah looked at Elias and spoke words that made the air feel heavy. "They will come. Not guards. Not hunters." "Who then?" Elias asked. Syrah's voice was small. "My people. The shadow that found them." The shop did not feel safe anymore. Even after the guards left, Elias felt it. The air was heavy, like the walls were listening. The toys on the shelves seemed too still, like they were waiting for something to break. Syrah sat close to the fire pit, her tail wrapped around her legs. The blue light under her scales was brighter now, but it did not look calm. It moved in sharp waves, like fear trying to escape. "They will not stop," she said quietly. The scan touched me. "That is enough." Elias rubbed his tired eyes. "Who exactly is coming?" Syrah looked at him. Her voice dropped. "The Seekers." Elias had heard that name once, long ago, on a broken news channel. They were not soldiers. They were worse. Ancient dragon hunters used by empires and councils when a dragon had to disappear. They erased things, Syrah said. Places, people, memories. A low hum passed through the floor. Elias froze. "Did you feel that?" Syrah nodded slowly. "Yes." The hum came again, deeper this time. Not sound, pressure. Like something massive had arrived close to the colony. Elias moved to the window and carefully pulled the curtain aside. High above the city, hidden behind clouds, a shadow moved. It was not a ship. It was alive. Elias stepped back, his heart pounding. "They're already here." Syrah stood, even though her injured wing trembled. They track fear, fire, royal blood. She looked at Elias. And bonds. Elias felt cold spread through him. "Bond." Syrah hesitated. This time, when she spoke, her voice sounded older. Heavier. "When you gave me warmth, when you held me, you marked yourself." Elias let out a slow breath. "Mark how—" Syrah touched the center of her chest. The blue light there flared bright, and for a brief moment, the same light appeared on Elias's hand. A symbol, gone as fast as it came. Elias stared at his palm. "What does that mean?" Syrah swallowed. "It means if I die, they will come for you too." Silence filled the shop. Outside, alarms began to sound across the colony. Elias laughed once, short and tired. "Of course they will." The hum grew stronger. Shelves shook. A toy fell and broke on the floor. Syrah's breathing became fast. "We must leave. Now." "Where?" Elias asked. Syrah pointed downward. Old tunnels. Under the colony. Dragons avoid small, tight spaces. Elias grabbed his coat, some tools, and the little food he had left. He hesitated, then picked up the broken wooden bird Syrah had carried. "You dropped this," he said. Syrah took it carefully. "You made it." They moved through the back door and into the alley. Snow had stopped, but the sky had turned dark green. Lights flickered. People ran, shouting in fear. Then the ground shook. A scream echoed from far away. Something landed. The Seekers had arrived. A shape moved between buildings, tall, thin, and wrong. Its eyes glowed red, not with fire, but with cold hunger. Metal and scale mixed together, shaped for one purpose. To hunt. Syrah froze. The Seeker turned its head slowly. It looked directly at them. "Run," Elias said. They ran. The alley felt too long. The Seeker moved without sound, closing the distance easily. Its voice echoed inside Elias's head. "Royal blood detected. Life debt confirmed." Syrah cried out and stumbled. Elias caught her and lifted her without stopping. The tunnel entrance appeared ahead, half covered by trash and snow. Just as they reached it, the Seeker raised its arm. A beam of dark energy fired. Elias turned his body without thinking. The beam hit his back. Pain exploded through him. He fell forward, shielding Syrah as they crashed into the tunnel. The entrance collapsed behind them. Darkness. Silence. Elias lay still, his body burning with pain. Syrah crawled over him, panic in her eyes. "You're hurt. Bad." Elias smiled weakly. "I'm still warm, right?" Syrah placed her small claw on his chest. The blue light surged. Not fire. Something else. Power. Ancient and alive. Outside the tunnel, the Seeker stopped. Its system screamed warnings. Bond activated. Human status protected. For the first time in its long existence, the Seeker hesitated. Deep in the dark tunnel, the dragon child bowed her head to the human who had saved her. "You should have let me freeze," she whispered. Elias closed his eyes, breathing slowly. No child should freeze alone. Far above the colony, dragon fleets changed direction. A human had been marked, and the galaxy would soon learn what that meant. What woke in the dark? Darkness wrapped around them like a heavy blanket. The tunnel smelled of dust, rust, and old water. Broken pipes lined the walls. Far above, the sound of metal claws scraped against stone. The seeker was searching. Elias lay on the cold ground, barely breathing. Pain burned across his back and spread into his chest. Every breath felt sharp, like broken glass. Sierra knelt beside him, shaking. "You are dying," she said, her voice cracking. "Because of me." Elias forced his eyes open. His vision was blurry, but he could still see her glowing faintly blue in the dark. "Not yet," he whispered. "I'm hard to break." That was a lie. Sierra pressed her claw against his chest. The blue light inside her surged again, brighter than before. The symbol Elias had seen earlier burned into the air between them. Clear now, solid, real. The tunnel walls shook. Sierra pulled her hand back in fear. "No, it's happening." Elias swallowed. "What's happening?" She looked at him, eyes wide. "The bond is waking." Before Elias could ask more, pain exploded through his body. Not like before. This pain was deeper, older. It felt like something inside him was being opened. He screamed. The tunnel filled with blue light. Outside, the seeker froze. Its sensors went wild. Data crashed into itself. Ancient warnings flashed across its systems. Error. Bond escalation. Unauthorized variable. Human core. Deep in space, something ancient stirred. Elias gasped as the pain suddenly stopped. He was breathing. Not just breathing strongly. He pushed himself up, shocked. His back still hurt, but the burning wound was closed. Scarred. Warm. Too warm. He looked at his hands. Faint blue lines ran under his skin, like veins made of light. "What did you do?" he asked. Sierra shook her head slowly. "I didn't do it. You did." She looked afraid of him now. "The bond doesn't just protect," she said. "It shares." Elias stood on unsteady legs. The tunnel felt different. Sharper. Clearer. He could hear the seeker above them. He could feel its cold hunger pressing down like weight. "I can feel it," he said quietly. Sierra's breath caught. "That's not possible." Another scraping sound echoed overhead. Rocks fell from the ceiling. The seeker was digging. Elias looked at the tunnel behind them, collapsed. The way forward, dark and unknown. "No more running," he said. Sierra grabbed his arm. "You can't fight it. It kills dragons." Elias met her eyes. "It's never met me." The seeker broke through the tunnel ceiling in a storm of stone and dust. Its red eyes locked onto them instantly. Target confirmed. Royal blood. Life debt holder. It raised its weapon. Sierra screamed. Elias stepped forward. He didn't know how he did it. He just reached out. The blue lines under his skin flared, and the air between him and the seeker bent, like heat above fire. The dark beam fired and curved away, slamming into the tunnel wall. The seeker froze. Impossible. Human resistance level. 0. The system cut off. Elias felt the power burn through him, but he held it. He took another step. "I don't know what you are," he said, his voice steady, "but you don't touch her." The seeker lunged. Elias slammed his hand into the ground. The tunnel erupted with blue force. Stone cracked. Metal screamed. The seeker was thrown back, smashing into the ceiling and disappearing into darkness. Silence fell. Elias dropped to one knee, breathing hard. The blue light faded. Sierra stared at him in shock. "You push it away," she whispered. Elias laughed weakly. "Guess I'm full of surprises." Above them, something massive shifted in the sky. Not one presence. Many. Sierra looked up, fear and hope mixing in her eyes. They felt it. "Who?" Elias asked. "My people," she said softly. "The real ones. Not hunters." The tunnel filled with a deep, powerful sound. Not a roar, but a call. Ancient. Proud. Elias felt it in his bones. He had never believed in destiny. But now, standing in the dark with a dragon child at his side and a galaxy waking above him, he knew one thing. This was no longer about survival. This was about what humans were willing to become. And the dragons were coming to find out. When the sky bowed, the tunnel shook as the sound grew louder. It was not thunder. It was not engines. It was wings. massive wings cutting through the sky above the colony. Elias felt the ground vibrate under his feet. The blue lines under his skin flickered again, reacting to something far greater than the Seeker. His heart beat in a slow, heavy rhythm, like it was answering a call. Syrah stood frozen, her eyes glowing brighter than ever. "They are here," she whispered. "The High Brood." Elias looked at her. "Is that good or bad?" Syrah swallowed. "That depends on you." A deep shadow passed over the tunnel opening. Light vanished. The air grew thick and hot, then suddenly calm. Too calm. Outside, the colony had stopped moving. Ship's power down. Alarms went silent. Even the Seekers paused, their red eyes dimming as ancient override codes flooded their systems. The tunnel ceiling cracked. Not from force, from permission. Stone melted smoothly, turning into glowing glass as a huge shape lowered itself into the open space above them. A dragon. Not small, not young, ancient. Its scales were silver and black, marked with symbols that hurt to look at. Its eyes were not angry. They were old, tired, watching. Syrah dropped to her knees instantly, pressing her forehead to the ground. "High Father," she said, "I live." The dragon's gaze moved to Elias. The air pressed down on him like an ocean. "You should not," the dragon said, its voice inside his mind, deep and calm. "And yet you do." Elias forced himself to stand straight. His legs shook, but he did not kneel. "I didn't save her for reward," he said. "I saved her because she was cold." A ripple passed through the dragon's scales. Around them, more shapes appeared, dozens of dragons circling the colony in silence. The sky itself seemed to bend around them. "Warmth," the dragon repeated slowly. "The first gift, the oldest law." The High Father lowered its massive head until one glowing eye was level with Elias. "Do you understand what you claimed?" Elias shook his head. "No, but I won't give it back." Silence. Then something unbelievable happened. The dragon lowered its head fully. "A bow." Syrah gasped. Her eyes filled with tears. "Then hear the truth, human Elias," the High Father said. "This child is of the royal flame, the last of her line." Elias felt the weight of those words crash into him. "The Seekers," the dragon continued, "were sent by those who fear what she may become." A distant explosion echoed across the colony as a Seeker unit was crushed from the sky by unseen force. "They will not touch her again." The High Father's gaze sharpened. "But you are now part of this." Elias clenched his fists. "I already am." A low, powerful sound spread through the air. Not anger, not joy. Approval. "So be it," the dragon said. "By ancient law, you are declared bearer of warmth." The blue symbol burned into Elias's chest, permanent now. Across the galaxy, systems updated. Treaties shattered. Emergency councils were called. A human had been recognized by dragon law. Syrah rose slowly and moved to Elias's side, standing close to him. "You don't belong to them," Elias said quietly. "You belong here, with people who won't hunt you." The High Father watched them both. "Then the galaxy must change," it said. Above the colony, dragon fleets spread out, not in attack formation but in guard. The message was clear. Touch this human, touch this child, and burn. Far away, in hidden chambers, those who controlled the Seekers felt fear for the first time. Because the weakest species had done the unthinkable. A human had stood before dragons, and the sky had bowed. The human who spoke back. The galaxy did not sleep that day. From shining core worlds to broken edge colonies, every screen lit up with the same image. A small human standing beside a dragon child, with ancient dragons circling above him like living stars. Emergency councils were called. Treaties were reopened. Old enemies sat at the same table, afraid to blink. Because a human had done something no empire ever dared to do. He spoke to dragons as an equal. In the great Galactic Council Hall, the image of Elias stood frozen in the center of the chamber. Representatives argued in rising panic. "This is impossible. Humans are not a bonded species. If dragons protect them, trade collapses. The Seekers have failed twice." The High Father's voice echoed through every channel at once, calm, and unstoppable. The law is older than your stars. Silence followed. On the colony, Elias felt the weight of it all pressed down on him. He stood on the cracked street, Sierra at his side, dragons above like a living sky. "You don't have to do this," Sierra whispered. "They will obey you now." Elias looked around at the broken colony, at the frightened people hiding in doorways, at the children peeking out from behind walls. "I do," he said. The High Father lowered its head again. "Speak, bearer of warmth." Elias took a breath. "I don't want weapons. I don't want power. And I don't want revenge." The council leaned closer. "I want this to stop," Elias continued. "No more seekers. No more hunting children. Not dragon children. Not human children. Not any children." A ripple of shock passed through the chamber. "You asked too much," one council voice snapped. The seekers maintained balance. Elias looked straight at the camera. "No, they maintained fear." Sierra stepped forward, her voice small but clear. "They kill my family." The chamber fell silent. Elias raised his hand, the blue symbol glowing softly. "Humans have always been small," he said. "We don't live long. We don't burn worlds. But we remember who showed us kindness and who didn't." The High Father's eyes burned brighter. "The human speaks truth." Above the colony, dragons shifted formation, not guarding anymore, targeting. "The seekers will be dismantled," the High Father declared. "Those who commanded them will answer." Panic erupted across the council. "You would go to war for a human?" someone shouted. The High Father's reply was simple. "No." A pause. "We will go to war for warmth." At that moment, alarms screamed across multiple systems. Seeker bases went dark. Control networks collapsed. Ancient dragon codes rewrote galactic infrastructure in seconds. Elias felt his knees weaken. Sierra grabbed his hand. "You changed everything." Elias looked down at her and smiled tiredly. "So did you." Far away, a final seeker signal escaped before destruction. Human variable confirmed. Future threat level unknown. The galaxy had measured humanity wrong, and now it was afraid. The High Father turned its gaze back to Elias. "One matter remains," it said. "What will you do when they come for you?" Elias looked at the stars, then at the people behind him. "I'll do what humans always do," he said. "I'll stand in the cold and keep others warm." The dragons roared, not in anger, but in respect. And across the galaxy, a new truth spread faster than fear ever had. Humanity was no longer alone. The warmth that would not fade. Years passed. The galaxy remembered wars by their numbers and empires by their ruins. But this story was remembered by a feeling. Warmth. On the edge of the colony where the old toy shop once stood, a new building now rose. It was not tall. It was not grand, but was always full of children, human, alien, scaled, furred, winged. Laughter echoed where fear once lived. At the center of it all stood Elias. He was older now. His hair had turned white. His hands shook more often. The blue lines beneath his skin were faint, almost gone, like embers after a long night. But the bond had not broken. Sierra stood beside him, no longer a child. She was tall now, her wings strong and wide, her scales shining like living stars. A royal crest glowed softly on her chest, but she wore it lightly. She did not rule from a throne. She guarded. Every dragon knew her title, the flame who was kept warm. Across the galaxy, the seekers were gone, their masters exposed. Empires that once hunted the weak now spoke carefully around humans. Not because humans were strong, but because they were watched by dragons. Elias watched the children play with wooden toys, some old, some newly made. He smiled, then coughed into his hand. The cold always came back in the evenings. Sierra noticed. "You should rest," she said gently. Elias shook his head. "Not yet." He walked to the door of the shop and looked outside. Snow was falling again, just like that first night. For a moment, the world felt very quiet. Then Elias felt it. The bond pulsed. Not with pain, with warning. Sierra stiffened. "Someone is coming." Elias nodded slowly. "I know." A ship landed at the edge of the colony. Small. Civilian. No weapons. A group stepped out, leaders from the Galactic Council. No guards. No armor. They approached the shop carefully, like people walking into a sacred place. "We were wrong," one of them said. "About humans. About dragons. About strength." Elias listened. "We want protection," another said. "From what we built. For what we became." Elias was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke. "Protection isn't free," he said. "It never was." They waited. "You protect children," Elias continued. "You stop hunting the weak. You choose warmth over fear." The leaders bowed. Behind them, Syrah felt pride rise in her chest like fire. That night, Elias did not wake up. He passed quietly in his chair, a small wooden dragon in his hands, a soft smile on his face. The bond faded but did not vanish. When Syrah felt it break, she screamed, a sound that shook the stars. Dragons across the galaxy roared in mourning. They did not burn worlds. They lit beacons. 1,000 systems glowed blue in honor of one human. Syrah stood before the gathered dragons, her voice steady, her eyes burning. "He gave me warmth when a galaxy gave me none," she said. "And so I will give warmth to the galaxy." She declared a new law. Simple, final. Any world that harms a child will face the flame. Years later, human children learned this story in school. Not as a legend, as a lesson. You don't need claws to be strong. You don't need fire to change the stars. Sometimes, all you need is to open a door on a cold night.